Call the Monday, February 10th, regular school board meeting to order, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chair notes that Lauren is not here, and Rob will be joining us by Skype at 7 o'clock. And this is an opportunity to welcome our new student rep, Olivia Rausch. Welcome, Olivia. We're very happy to have you on board and look forward to working with you and getting your input as a student. So do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Right. So my name is Olivia. I'm currently in my sophomore year of high school. I'm super excited to be here. In my free time, I used to participate in speech, youth and government, and Knowledge Bowl, but now I've dedicated my time in high school to do theater. I was in the fall play, the winter one acts, and I'm hopefully going to do the spring play. Some of my favorite classes in school are science, foods, and health class, which it's really fun with Valeria. She's one of my favorite teachers. And I look forward to being here. I always want to involve myself in a community, and I'm really excited. So thank you.
Thank you. It will be a great addition, so we look forward to it. Okay. Let's see. So we have roll call, consideration of agenda. We had one last minute change to the agenda. So we pulled action item number 8.18, the resignation. We pull that from your agenda. That won't be happening. So I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Sandy, is there a second?
I'll second.
Ryan, discussion?
Wait, 7.18?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out. What are you
7.18.
talking?
I have 8.18.
I don't have any.
I
There
don't have an
was
8.18.
one item that we had to take out.
Oh, so that renumbered everything since
Yep.
yesterday? Oh, sorry, I didn't print it since yesterday afternoon. Okay, so
But is it
7.
7.18?
No.
Nope. It's already gone from this.
Okay.
So,
I understand, yeah, okay. Got
but
it.
it was, yeah.
But it's on the
okay.
consent agenda.
It's under consent, correct. Okay. We have a motion and Brian seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Public comment, I don't believe anybody submitted a request to speak. School Board Recognition Week.
All right, so February 17th through the 21st is designated as this year's School Board Recognition Week for Minnesota. And these certificates say Minnesota School Board Recognition Week, February 17th through the 21st, 2020. Certificate Appreciation. The Minnesota School Board Association honors all of you as school board members for your dedicated leadership in public education and continuing service to the students of this community. So on behalf of the community and the staff here at Jordan Public Schools, I'd like to thank you for serving in this role. I know that it's time intensive. We have a 512-page packet tonight. So I know that you have to spend time educating yourselves, and oftentimes you receive input from the public, you receive input from staff, you receive input from administration, and you have to weigh all that information and make your decision. So thank you for dedicating your time to the kids of Jordan Public Schools. So we have a certificate here. And
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Olivia, you even get one.
Thank you.
Aw.
And then, because Hope is fantastic, we have a little delicious cupcake.
Jeez.
Oh, wow. Oh, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Whoa. I
Hope
hope you
is
spent a lot of time
fantastic.
baking.
All me.
Oh.
Those are cute.
Yeah, is that ever thoughtful? Thank you.
Aw. I'm gonna take a picture of that. That's cute.
Open it.
Yeah, I know, I was gonna.
If Lauren doesn't come soon, I'm gonna sue
Well, since I knew Rob wasn't here and Laura
Oh, look at that.
Nicole happened to be in the office today, I gave it to her and said, well, I guess if he's not back soon enough, it's yours.
Yeah.
You're lucky.
Yeah, you almost didn't get your cupcake.
Who brought cupcakes?
It goes with this.
Oh,
School Board Recognition Week next week, so thank you, Lauren, for your service.
thank you. Thank you, Hope, that was very thoughtful.
Yeah,
And
very
thank
nice.
you, Matt.
Thank you.
Speaking on behalf of the board, I think we all would agree that it's a great honor to be able to serve this district, and yeah, it's a lot of work, but we're up to it, I guess, and we appreciate being acknowledged very much. That means a lot, so thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, school board discussion on the flexible learning year application and calendar options.
So that's the one that we had removed since it's an action.
So
item.
I should not be looking at this at all. That'll teach me to do things the day before. Okay. So then we are on to consent agenda items. We have the minutes from January 6th, several finance reports, budget reduction suggestions, some explanations for the general fund. The donations are Mighty Cause for Food Shelf, $45 by the yard. JHS Angel, $449.06. Gary and Diane Otterness, field trip, $200. Robert and Helen Remick for JESN News, $1,200, and DJ Hines for Food Shelf, $500. We have a lot of policies. They're all first and final reading, I believe. Yep, and then we have the teacher seniority list approval, the leave of absence request for Rachel Ryberg, Ashley Hyatt, and Lori Schmidt, and also a leave of absence request for Tony Ryberg for the fall musical and one-act play. New hires, we have Lindsay Mitchell, long-term sub middle school teacher, English BA1. New hire Nicholas Dolan, coach, baseball, 7th grade, Schedule C. New hire Travis Fremming, circ front desk assistant at $13.47. Jordan Lamberson, circ front desk assistant, $10. Abby Visner, circ front desk assistant, $10. Kristen Hagan, circ tutor, $25. Christina Stresnak, middle school building nurse at $21.86 per hour. Reduction of FTE request by Tammy Stenzlin, elementary school sped teacher. We have the resignation of Karen Schomer, middle school cook's helper, and resignation of Erin Yomlin for middle school softball coach. So I will entertain a motion to approve the consent items.
Motion to approve?
Tom, is there a second? Looking for a second.
Second.
Sandy, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, action items, review and act on the revised fiscal year 2020 budget.
All right, Amy Hafman is with us here tonight. And for those who are watching at home, Amy is our finance director, and this is a presentation of our revised budget. It is very typical for school districts to do a revised budget, sometimes more than one revised budget. As we all know, a school district budget is created in June. By law, it must be created and adopted by a board by June 30th, leading up into the school year. And at that time, our enrollment projections, some specific revenue, or just a projection, just a guess, a rough guess. And at this time, we have a better idea, obviously, with some of those things. So with that in mind, Amy has created a tutorial, an executive summary to go through and present the revised fiscal year 20 budget. So I'll turn it over to Amy.
Okay, so what I do, I go through each funds, and even in February, we're gonna have a better look of what we did throughout the year, more so than when we did the adopted budget. So I think if you scroll down, Matt, I can maybe just read through, and
Where do you want me to go?
I think it's on the next attachment on the board packet. Yep. So I did do an executive summary. So the first page we're just going to look at is Fund 1. So you can see where we were, where I got the numbers for the adopted budget, and then also the revised budget. So some of the factors that weighed into doing the revised budget, so when we did the adopted budget, we figured our enrollment was going to be higher than what it currently is. So when I did the revenue for the revised budget, I'm going to project about 1,900 adjusted ADMs. And what that includes our students that are in our seats. It includes 13 tuition students and 20 ECSE students. So that's where I got that number from. After running a bunch of MDE reports on special ed, we're projected to get more revenue in special ed this year than we did last year, so that brought our revenue up quite a bit. And also, we also received about $63,000 more in Safe Schools in that one-time funding money. So that also played into effect in our revenue budget. So our revised budget, and for this revised budget, I did not include the student activity accounts. I'll do that if we do another revised budget. So for this year, for this revision, I'm projecting our revenue to be $20,913,926. And then I went through the expenditures, and it was a contract negotiations year, and our increase in the contracts were higher than what our increase in state aid was. We also increased in our purchase services by almost $200,000. There was an increase in our care and treatment and homeless transportation. There was, in those costs, there was also an increase in our foster care transportation costs. And then also, within the expenditure budgets, we did change out the JHS LED lights to LED lights. And we're gonna cover that cost out of LTFM, so that still is in the main picture of the expenditures, but we're hoping to save that money in our electrical utility costs. And I will more than likely bring another revised budget to the board in May or June, because there might be other expenses that we don't know about, other things might happen, and we might not spend as much on snow plowing, or there might be other costs that we don't know about at this time. But for right now, I'm projecting a deficit of $591,768. So that's Fund 1. So for Fund 2, I'm projecting our revenues to be about the same as I predicted, and our expenditures to be about $985,000, which should leave a positive balance, ending balance of $10,268, which is good for the food service. We need to bring that deficit spending up a little bit. For community ed, I'm projecting revenues to be about $1,655,000, and the expenditures to be about $1,672,000. It's a little difficult with community ed just because they get a lot of their revenue in the spring with their spring catalog. So that again, we'll have a better picture of that in May or June when we bring that forward. We still do have a little bit of Fund 6 money. What that is, in our Fund 6 account, the construction fund, that is our COP dollars that are remaining in that account. And so there's about $53,000. No,
So
the
this-
beginning balance was $53,000.
The COP is the certificates of participation, which we use to purchase the new land, which we call the South Campus. So when we went out and, purchased or received those funds, we took a little extra out to do site improvements, such as, there's some old abandoned farmhouses and things like that on there. So part of that money is earmarked for disposing, which we've done a lot of this disposal. The fire department's burned the building. Things still remain out there to take care of, which this fund source will help us do that.
Yeah, and so right now, that's just sitting in its own bank account and collecting interest on that. And one thing that's going to come out of there is the soil boring test that we just did that Braun Intech did. So that is going to come out of Fund 6. Fund 7 is our debt service fund, and I show no difference than what our adopted budget showed. And also in Fund 20, which is our self-insured dental plan. And that's just gonna, we keep growing that. We're actually doing very well in that account. We have a positive balance, so that's just gonna keep growing. Any questions?
Any questions?
And it is my intent to bring another revised budget forward in May or June.
Crickets?
It was very thorough. Yeah.
Pardon?
You were very thorough, so
Oh,
you explained
okay.
everything, so I
Okay.
really,
No
I mean,
questions.
it is what it is, it's,
Okay. Well,
And remember that deficit
Yeah.
is not all unassigned money.
Yeah.
And
And-
it's a combination of reserved account and unassigned amount.
Yes,
So
and-
that's where we came up, we're predicting a $300,000 deficit spend in the unassigned account.
Yes. And also remember, it's a projection. I mean, we have to have those numbers in the budget as projections. Things might, there might still be projects in there that are not gonna get done, or things will happen at the end of the year. So it is just a projection.
Yep.
So as we look to discussing budget cuts, we'll have to take into consideration what number we're gonna be looking at.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
We need to approve that?
Yes.
Yes,
Yep.
so I need a motion to approve the revised fiscal year 2020 budget.
Motion to approve.
Tom, is there a second?
Second.
Connie, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. A review and act on the girls' golf team field trip request to Morton. I think this is an annual trip that they've
They
been
took
doing
the
for
same
several
trip last
years.
year, yes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And they certainly, they're timely, they have the request in plenty of time. And they're taking school vans, so,
how is it getting paid for? Is it coming out of the Booster Club?
It says that, yeah.
Did I miss that?
Yep, right down there. Funds are collected from the Jordan Golf Booster account.
where do you see
I
that?
think
Second
where
bullet
you
from the
see-
bottom.
right on the
Yeah,
Keep going down.
it's-
Right on the
Yeah, you
bottom.
keep going.
Second to the bottom one.
It says it comes
Yeah.
from
There
the
you
booster
go.
Funds will come from the Jordan Booster account.
That one.
The golf booster account, okay.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Sandy?
Go ahead. Nope,
Discussion?
Sandy can get it.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Review and act on the teacher unrequested leave of absence language as an amendment, addendum to the EMJ master agreement and corresponding memorandum of understanding.
Very nice. So, in the event that you make significant reductions, you may get to tenured staff, and in order to reduce a tenured staff member, or you have to have an unrequested leave of absence process in place. And it's different than a non-tenured staff member. Non-tenured staff, you can go through a termination process. It's pretty cut and dried. ULA process, there's more to it. So the state legislature 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm, well, yeah.
2 or 3 years ago, passed a new law stating that school districts had to renegotiate their ULA language with their bargaining unit. At the time, we were finishing up negotiations. It was very tenuous with our negotiations process at that time. We had just gone through several mediation sessions, and we were just happy to get through financials. So we decided at that time to do an MOU to work on ULA language, after the agreement was ratified. We had hoped to complete it by July 1st of that particular year, but it became very clear that when you have no leverage, it was just much more difficult to negotiate on both sides of the table. So we fast forward to this past year's contract negotiation cycle. We obviously completed the financials pretty early. It was a very good process. We had excellent dialogue with our teacher negotiators, and we felt more comfortable of doing an MOU to complete this at a later time, in which we were able to complete in, I think, 3 or 4 sessions. Process went really well. There was give and take on both the district side and also EMJ's side, and I think we have a product that we both are happy with. So that is the purpose. This MOU will be in place because you cannot open or reopen a teacher master agreement by law outside of the contract negotiation cycle. And since we already completed that, this MOU will be in place until we negotiate again in 2021, at which time the MOU will be inserted in the ULA language section of the contract. I don't have any specifics. I can answer any specific questions about the new language, but it's fairly standard. I mean, there were recommendations from MSBA, and obviously EMJ had recommendations from Education Minnesota. We married those two pieces together and came up with our solution that works specifically for Georgia. There's really no one size fits all. They've been all over the place. It's really kind of unique district by district and what this language looks like.
Okay.
Tom, Deb, Ryan, anything to add? Certainly welcome to do that.
Yeah, it was a very amicable resolution. I mean, like Matt said, we got some things in there that we really wanted, like protection for CAS and CE teachers, and they got things that were important to them, and then we did a lot of language cleanup and timeline verification cleanup and stuff, so it was a good process.
And you were able to see, you know, sort of the strikeouts and addendums to the, there's substantial changes made to certain sections.
And they did vote on it, correct?
Yeah, I don't know that they voted on it, but they've signed.
Signed it, okay. Okay, okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the teacher ULA MOU agreement.
Motion to approve.
Sandy, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Ryan, discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let's see, review and act on the resolution directing the administration to make recommendations for reductions in programs and positions and reasons therefore.
This is a standard MSBA template, and there's nothing attached to it other than you're approving a resolution directing the administration to prepare recommendations for you as a board to reduce the budget, which will come forth at our February work session. We'll have recommendations that time, but we'll have discussion. But then the actual action will take place at our March meeting, according to our budget timeline.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Ryan? Is there a second?
Second.
Connie? Okay. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Deb Pauley,
Yes?
Tom Vogel,
Yes.
Sandy Burke,
Yes.
Connie Hennon,
Yes.
Lauren Pedersen,
Yes.
Ryan Daner.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, review and act on the 2021 JMS course registration guide. Yeah?
Summary fine?
Yeah, summer's fine. So, really very minimal changes to the handbook. There are no new courses added for this year. Just based off of feedback from last year, there was a lot of questions about whether or not we were going to be serving kids lunch because on the sample schedule, they didn't see that. So we added that in and then added the cleanup of when, that time that we added during, to support students. And then the other course or the class that we tweaked, it used to be called SAIL. It's now REACH, it's called. It's more of a structured academic support with some social emotional pieces built into it. That's added into the course handbook, but that's a course that we're currently running. And then we clarified some language about 8th grade Spanish, just really addressing questions that we heard through the registration process over the last couple of years. And then it's the piece about 8th graders still having the opportunity to take band and or choir during that win time. So it's just having that language into the course registration handbook. We're already doing all of that. We just, when we approved this handbook last year, that idea hadn't come forth yet. So that's really it.
I'll entertain a motion. We can discuss.
Motion to approve.
Tom, is there a second?
Second.
Lauren, questions for Mr. Bakeberg or any comments? No? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, review and act on the high school 2021 course registration guide. Mr. Visner.
Well, similar to Ben, mostly just some cleanups, a few additions. I think we've talked about these all at the Curriculum and Technology Group, I think in December. I'll just dive right through them. Added a note on physics course that it's an online course. That was done already this year, but the online piece wasn't noted in there. I think it's been pretty successful. Mr. Aldrich has done a great job with that of running it all online and then supporting that by coming in. Now it's a little less frequently than before because he's moved to Laverne, but he's still making those trips up here when he comes to visit his daughter. So
Is that an AP class?
it is not.
It is not, okay.
It is not, no. Dropped the SPA program that, we didn't use that this year either. It was a math support program that we're not using. Added REACH, as Mr. Bakeberg talked about. REACH is a part of our SAIL program, and it just adds some social emotional learning pieces into it. And I think it's been pretty successful. We're using it in 2 hours a day right now, where Ms. Kuski comes in and there's some extra support and counseling support added into the academic support. Environmental science, we didn't run that class this year. The numbers were lower, and what we found also is that it was better suited for a semester-long course versus a year-long. And two reasons for that. One is, I think, more students be apt to take it. We just have so many science offerings. And secondly, that way that could be offered first semester, and then Ms. Skipper could teach the medical career second semester. So they match each other. It just makes for scheduling help. Advanced Spanish, we just took the advanced off. It's just Spanish 2 and 3. We know that our progression is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This started a few years ago, and there's not a need for it anymore. Added a social studies class called Multicultural History of the United States. I think that'll be an excellent class. I think students will take that. Added coaching and leadership to the Summit Academy program. It'll be a nice piggyback course that kids could take along with the Intro to Education. We're trying a new class, online senior English capstone. So students would take this in the second semester senior year, and it'd really be that project-based, student-driven, here's what I want to learn, and here's how I'm going to show how I learned that. So we're going to give it a shot and see if people will be interested in it. Simple one, moved construction trades to the Summit Academy program because that's 2 hours a day, hands-on learning, and then some general cleanup. And then I also got an email today, good catch, from Sandy. She caught a couple things in our book that I think were really important to take note of. In Intro to Ed, and we're going to add these in, and we'll re-upload our program. But what it is in the English box in the registration, under the writing credits, it should say Intro to Education, because it covers the Intro to Ed, covers the writing credit, and it also covers an elective credit in the English department too. So we need to add that in to that portion there. And then also, the English department wanted to change it from college writing and research writing to college writing 1, college writing 2. It just makes more sense. It just, because then students were always confused, well, which one do I take, research writing or college writing? What's the difference? And so we cleaned that up. But with cleaning it up, we missed a couple of spots where it still references research writing within the descriptions of other English classes. So I'm going to clean those things up tonight, and we'll repost that tomorrow. Those are things that most students won't notice. Sandy just has a way better eye than most students, and myself included, and 2 other counselors who read through that too. So thank you for that. That's the stuff we need to catch. So that's it. Any questions?
I have, go ahead.
Oh, okay. With the environmental sciences, like what grades is that?
That's 11 and 12.
Okay.
Yep, that's offered for 11 and 12.
So we're adding the coaching and leadership to the Sun Academy program,
Mm-hmm.
and we have the Intro to Ed. Are those running at the same times, like both first semester, or is one running first semester, one running second semester?
I think we'll wait and see. I think, number one, we need to see if we have the numbers for the coaching.
Okay.
My sense would be that that'd probably be a second semester course.
Okay.
But I would also talk to Mr. Bonick is the one who proposed it and would be teaching that course, and figure out where we can get the most help. Part of that is going to be the students are going to be not liable. They're going to be working with coaches in other sports. So we're going to try to find what season that would maybe work best in. You know, so let's say that Lexi takes that course and she likes basketball, so we try to hook her up with a, 3rd grade community ed basketball coach. So we're just trying to figure out which semester that would work best in.
Okay.
If there'd be more coaches in the fall or more coaches in the spring, or if it's that winter time would be best.
Okay.
So I said a lot without saying a lot there, so sorry. I think we'd look
So you
mostly at
wouldn't be able
second
to take
semester.
both at the same time. It's either one or
It'd be
the
hard
other.
to fit in, 'cause you've
You
got
may,
three,
I mean,
it'd be two
what it'll do
left.
is, it'll probably be second semester. I hadn't thought that far ahead. It'll probably be second semester because Intro to Ed is 2 hours already, so it'd probably be a better block for second semester.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then is BME going to be offered every other year, or are you still offering that next year?
We'll
or-
put it out there and see
Put it
what our
out there.
numbers look like.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. It'd be our hope that we could build it back up and get it rolling again. Yeah.
I did have one question about the coaching one.
Yep.
Is that going to be geared completely solely towards athletics, or is it also an option of activities as well?
I think it'll have a stronger, it'll have a
Right.
leadership component. And I think because of the instructor, it's going to have a stronger bend toward coaching.
Sure.
But I certainly don't know why somebody that was in activities couldn't take it and still pull those pieces from it. And I'm guessing there's going to be enough self-selection in what they're studying or where they want to go do their practicum.
Yep.
That it could apply to anybody. But I know that it will have a stronger bend towards coaching.
I figured. I
Yeah,
just
towards
wanted
the
to know if
athletic
it was
coaching.
completely towards
Yeah.
athletics, so.
I have a question. So,
Yep.
with that particular course, I think at one point in time, we talked about officiating as well,
That'll be just, I think that'll be a unit within there. Yep.
that students could potentially leave with some sort of pathway to become
Certification?
a licensed Minnesota State High School League official, or at least a taste.
At least, yeah, yep. Where we would get them some opportunities. So it'd be a unit within there, just like when, I could see he's going to teach about, the qualities of leadership, the activity or education-based athletics and all those different pieces, and one of them will be officiating.
Sure.
And getting involved there too.
A good opportunity would be to partner and take part in the Inside Out training. I was at the league training all day today in the cities. It's partnered with the NFL. The NFL is paying all the costs for that. And I will honestly say it was the most phenomenal professional development I have ever attended.
Yeah.
It would be, and I know on April 6th, they're going to be having an event for athletic directors, and I believe a male and female coach from each district. And I don't know if the principals are involved or not. It's going to be at the US Bank Stadium. They're going to be doing a similar process with them. Tons of resources, tons of best practices. It would be a super opportunity for, if Mr.
Yep.
Urbanic is doing that. It
Yep.
would be a great opportunity
Yep.
for him to do that, so.
Yeah. I know I've gone through that with Jody a while ago. We went, it was at St. Thomas.
Yeah.
Now, this is my own, this has nothing to do with our course catalog. My own personal plug is now, and I've told this to the State High School League, now they need to get our parents to be involved in it. They need our parents to know what we're,
Right.
what we're expecting from our coaches,
Yeah. Yes.
because it might not feel the same way for parents. Parents might
Right.
not agree with
Right.
what is really good practice.
And that is part of, this is a 3-year process, and Minnesota was just approved by the NFL. It's out of the NFL Foundation.
Yeah.
So we were just officially approved for funding for that, and that is a very strong component, the parents and the community.
Yep.
So, it would be a good thing.
Yeah, no, I agree, definitely. Other questions on course catalog? And obviously, the other piece that we're looking at is that we're going to be, you know, as we look at numbers, we're gonna probably be bumping up what our threshold of numbers is for a class. You know, we've been generally at about 20. You might be looking at 22 or 23 in order to run some of our elective courses, depending on what is decided here in our workshop and other places, so.
And to your point, Sandy, this initiative is not just geared at sports. It was so good that I really feel it's something that should be done as professional development for all staff. So, you know, it's very inclusive of the arts.
Okay,
So, but good. Anyway, okay, other questions for Mr. Wisner? Great, you got a
All right.
lot going on, that's great, exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the high school handbook.
Motion to approve the high school handbook.
Lauren, is there a second?
Second. Second.
Sandy, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have to call Rob?
He hasn't texted me yet.
Okay.
His meeting's running late, I know that.
Okay. Shoot. Okay, review and act on directing administration to make an application to the Minnesota Department of Ed for a flexible learning year calendar.
Okay,
All right, here we go.
I know we have Michael here. Michael, do not publish these calendars in your newspaper because they have not gone through any sort of vetting process. I just created a couple calendars today because I got to think it might be beneficial for you as a board to see what a no spring break looks like and what a spring break looks like with a flexible learning year. And then we have the stakeholder survey results. And then I just attached the blank template for the application process for a flex learning year. So I think we'll start with the survey results. Just a real quick summary. We did both parent and guardians, and then we also had non-certified staff, and then we also had certified staff weigh in on 3 separate surveys. So our parent and guardians, just a basic summary, a majority, 48%, would like the district to apply for a flexible learning year and would also like to have the week-long spring break reinstated. 32% would be in the next category, also would like to see the flexible learning year applied for, but are okay with not having the week-long spring break. So 80% of our respondents felt like we should apply for the flex learning year, meaning starting school early. For our non-certified staff, again, a high percentage felt that we should apply for a flexible learning year, nearly 90% between the 2 categories, except for this time, a majority of staff in the non-certified category would like to see the district not reinstate the week-long spring break. Similarly, our certified staff, again, 90%, feeling like we should apply for a flexible learning year, with 50 or just around 51% also stating that they are not for reinstating the week-long spring break. So directly the opposite of what our parents said. And we had about 315 parents respond, roughly, so a fairly decent sample size. So here are some different options. Gosh, Rob's texting me, so I gotta log in, so I'm trying to multitask here. I'm not very good at that. So here's one that does not have the spring break. So I'll just go through some of the highlights. Workshop week would start really with new staff on the 20th. The 21st would be our Flex Learning Day for staff. And we trade out that, oh, here's Rob. Hey, Rob. Rob? Hey. You want to listen or you want me to plug you in? Okay. Yep, I can do that. All right, we'll give it a shot. All right, here we go. Okay. He's part of the Blue Man Group.
There he is. Oh, he has a blue shirt on. There
There
you
we
go. Hi, Rob.
Hello. Good evening. Sorry I'm late.
It's okay.
Well, we're at the point in the agenda, Rob, where we're talking about the Flex Learning Year application. So we're on that action
Okay.
item. And just went through the survey results, just do a quick recap for you. Our staff, 90% of our staff feel like we should apply for a Flex Learning Year. Majority of them don't want us to reinstate the week-long spring break. Parents, 80% feel like we should apply for a Flex Learning Year, except for the majority, I think it was 30-some percent. Was it 30-some percent? 36?
48%.
48? I can't
48% wanted a spring break.
48% wanted a spring
32
break.
did not.
So, what I did today is just played with some calendar options. By no means are they've been vetted by nobody other than me. So what I did is just I went through and just moved some things around. So I'm just explaining some of the highlights there. I'm not gonna go through every day. So we'll start here. August 20th would be the start with our new staff workshop. The 21st would be our staff flexible workshop day. And then workshop week really is the 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th. Then Friday, our staff would have that day off, so a 3-day weekend, and then begin with students on August 31st. So August 31st would be the start day. Nothing's really changed in the calendar in terms of what the beginning of the year looks like. So nothing's changed with that kickstart to kindergarten, things like that. So I'm not going to go through that. Then I'm just going to highlight the end of the year. Commencement would be on Saturday, May 22nd. And the last student contact day would be Wednesday, the 26th. And the last staff development day would be the 27th of May. And Memorial Day is on the 31st, so we would be complete with school by Memorial Day. Everything else pretty much remained the same. Spring break, there's no spring break in that particular calendar option. Oh, we lost Rob.
Oh, I'm still here.
Oh.
I just figured that you guys didn't want me.
Oh.
You didn't want to watch me
Okay.
watch or walk through tall buildings.
All right. So the no spring break options, there technically would be a little bit of a spring break, but it would be an abbreviated form. For students, the end of the third quarter would be Wednesday, March 31st. Staff would work on April 1st, which would be a professional development day, but students would have that day off, so that'd be Thursday the 1st. Friday the 2nd would be off. That's actually Good Friday on the Easter calendar. And then we also have programmed in Monday the 5th off. So students potentially would have a 5-day weekend if we went with this calendar. Staff would have a 4-day weekend. So this is the no spring break option. And that gets you out, or gets staff and students out prior to Memorial Day. Any questions on that?
With the school done before the 31st, so May, Memorial Day is when?
Monday the
31st.
31st.
Monday the
Right
31st.
Oh, it is.
Does that cause an issue with the parade and stuff? If school's all done, is Logan gonna lose his band?
Good question.
I don't know. I mean, I suppose that, I would guess that most kids will come, but I would have
They
to.
would come back, yeah.
Yeah, I would have to, I mean, I don't know that for sure, but I would say that that's probably the integrity of that group
Sure.
of kids. I would say that that's probably likely. All right, so I wanted to show the other option here. So the other option that I created was basically the same start as what I just showed you, so I'm not gonna go through that again. Again, first student contact day would be Monday, the 31st of August. And then it reinstates the week-long spring break, so that would mean Thursday, March 25th would be the last student contact day in the third quarter. The 26th would be a professional development day, so that would be the first day off for students. And then the following week, the 29th of March through the 2nd of April, and again, the 2nd of April is Good Friday. So that would be a spring break week, a traditional week-long spring break week, consistent with what we've done in the past in terms of that last week in March, spilling into April.
Can you go back up a little bit? So they have the 25th off and the 26th off?
No,
No.
students come to school on the 25th, Thursday. That's
Okay.
the last day, and that's the way the calendar is this year.
Uh-huh.
And then this is a professional development day for staff, but students don't come in.
Okay. They don't come in.
No,
Correct.
Okay.
So staff would
So
come
they
in on
had
Good
six-
Friday?
no.
Oh.
Good Friday's right here.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So students get 6 days off.
Yep.
Yes.
Plus the weekends. That's the way it is this year, it's the way it was last year,
Yep.
so
Quite a while.
That's like 10 days.
it just, I mean, it works out, the reason why we do it that way is it's a grading day, so, staff end the third quarter, and it's, you know, we're on semesters, so it doesn't necessarily make a big deal, but, language arts teachers do have papers to grade and things like that to sort of wrap that piece up. So that's why we end on a Thursday, so Friday is more of that grading day. And we do have elementary school conferences built in that day as well.
So how, with the no spring break, how does that impact that grading day that they have here? How is that different? Is it different or is it the same?
It's built in, right here. So this would be the last student contact day.
Okay,
This is the grading day right here, professional
Gotcha.
development day.
okay.
So the teachers basically only get 2 days off, right? With the no spring break.
Correct.
Or with a
Plus the weekend.
limited spring break, yeah.
Yep,
Which they were all comfortable with.
Yes. Well,
correct.
most of them, yes. Majority.
And then the end of the year on this week-long spring break would be, so Memorial Day is here, the 31st. We would then have to come back on Tuesday, the 1st. This would be the last student day, and it's a half day. And then Wednesday, the 2nd, would be a professional development day.
Ooh.
Unless
notice that.
you stole from somewhere else, so you could steal a day here, take the 23rd of December.
Well, can't we steal a day back where you were at spring break instead of just ship?
No.
Why not?
Oh, you could.
The-
But then you lose that professional development day. They'd have to come in on spring break.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do it somewhere.
Yeah. But just coming back for that one day, ew. In June, I'm talking.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I've never liked going to school the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, so I'd be in favor of eliminating the Wednesday before
too.
Thanksgiving
Oh,
and
yes.
going the 1st and 2nd of June.
I
Oh,
would
yeah, I
agree
would
with
be good with
that.
that.
I would 100% agree with that.
So you're there for 2 days,
Sorry.
2 halves.
I just,
That's the beauty of creating school calendars. There are so many opinions.
And a million options, yeah.
I've been saying that for 10 years.
I don't
No,
know,
I'm
I'm sorry, but I still like getting out before Memorial Day. I like that, when we did the construction, that was just awesome. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. But I don't camp anymore, so I guess I'm
So-
just kidding.
Are there limitations, I can't recall, in the flexible learning year? Is there only so many times in a row we can apply for that?
3.
3?
Like, you get a 3-year cycle, then you'd have to apply again.
Reapply.
Oh, but you're not maxed up. So,
Not that I'm aware of.
so if you apply for it now, we can do it up to 3 times without approval again? Is
Yes.
that what you're saying? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But I
But
only.
if we do
Yeah, go
if
ahead.
we do a building project, we're exempt.
Correct.
That's,
Yes.
that would not
Right,
use
sure.
up any of these.
It's easier to get.
No, I'm just thinking, if we start letting out before Memorial Day, that's something that that may be popular, right? And you may be expected to do
That's-
going forward. And so that's,
Yes.
I mean, I think we have a quirk in the calendar that's making Labor Day really late, right? So we
That's
were
part of it.
So we were considering, spring break, and not getting out excessively, like the second week in June, I think is what we're talking about, right? But, so I think the big decision for us is, do we want to deviate as much as letting out before Memorial?
Well, and
seems
that
like
might be a
June.
1-year thing too, because Memorial might be earlier next year. And you might
Right.
not be able to get out before Memorial no matter what, because if
Right.
it's the 26th or, whatever it falls into next year.
True, but I think we're setting a precedent,
I
like
do
Ryan
too.
is saying.
Yeah.
I think that if we get rid of spring break this year, I think that's gonna be the expectation going forward. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, I'm just saying I think that's gonna be the expectation going forward.
I wish our principals were here because people take spring break whenever they want to take spring break.
They do.
I just did it.
Yeah, but
I don't.
some kids don't.
Yeah, there are some kids that don't.
Yeah.
There are some kids and there are some families who do adhere to some of our school policies. It's just, where do the majority fall? But
I
we,
don't
I mean,
have
looking
any- I
at the
don't
survey
care.
though, the majority of the parents wanted the week-long spring break. And we had a good sampling, 350, was it?
315.
What is that, 25% of our parents? 30%?
Well,
hard to
you're
say.
assuming it's 315 households unless, I mean, we have no way to know.
Mhm.
It could have been 2 parents in the same household, for
Right.
example.
It's a statistically significant sample.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It is.
it's fair.
Good one.
What do you want to do? It doesn't matter to me either way.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
The thing, like he said, it's hard to make a calendar because no matter what, like even if you do the Thanksgiving week, then you have kids, then you have families that are like, well, why would I even send my kid for 2 days? So it's just one of those things, it's
Absolutely.
like, you're
Yeah.
never gonna make
For sure.
anyone happy.
Yep.
So what you were saying, Tom, was what? To
I'd say
away?
take off the 25th of November too.
Yes.
So you take off the 25th and then you add a day so that you have student contact on June 1st and 2nd.
Yes. There are, and I-
Traveling
that
during
still
Thanksgiving
is
is tough.
hard, and
To
if you have-
Chicago,
Yes.
or something like that.
Absolutely.
We used to go down to Oklahoma and
You
it
know
was
what?
so
If
hard
you're
to
gonna do
squish.
that, here's what I would suggest instead. Because we are so heavy on days off in that first semester. If that's the case, I would keep this the way it is. And I would put another day, we're going back to this other calendar. No. Where am I?
I used to put my kids.
No, I see what you're saying. I was thinking the other calendar.
It actually kind of levels it out, because if you look at student contact day, you'd be knocking one off the first quarter
That's
and
true.
adding it to the second.
Because
so
you're
you-
90 on the,
You'd be real
90 on the
level.
front side,
Yeah.
84 on the back
You'd be
side.
real,
You'd be-
you know.
Yeah.
You're right. I don't know what I was thinking. Scratch that.
That's a good idea, Tom. Look at you thinking outside the box.
Well, I've been saying the Wednesday one
He
every
did
year
that
when we talk
last
about
year.
calendar.
He did that last year, he wanted to go early.
I don't like that Wednesday.
Well, for people who have to travel, it's really hard.
Mhm.
And there are things that happen on that day, that the day, I mean, I don't know if the fifth graders still
Yeah.
do it or not, but there used to be
Yeah,
that Thanksgiving
yeah.
dinner, and my kids didn't want to miss it.
Yeah.
But we'd have to go to Illinois, so, you know, it was like,
Do we
what do
know
you
what the
do?
average absenteeism on the day is before Thanksgiving?
No, I don't.
Ours too, we've got the other kids coming in from college, so an extra day with them, you know, is,
Yeah,
it is a bonus for us, that's why
yeah.
I've always pushed for it.
So we'd have to find it somewhere else.
Right, so that would not make sense, correct? I mean,
Well, we would just, so the 25th of November, if we made that a full day off, then we would take a half day or a 1 o'clock dismissal and plug it in somewhere else. We would have to create and make another day a 1 o'clock dismissal.
Well,
Wouldn't
we've
that
done
be
that
the
on,
last day of
we've done
school?
that on spring break though before too. We've done that the Thursday, right, the Thursday
That's
before
second
spring
Thursday.
break. So they only go for a half day,
It wouldn't make sense to do it
or
though
you don't wanna
this
do it
year.
there, cause it's end of the quarter.
Or why don't you just add a day on the end, so what?
Yeah.
I mean, June 2nd is early.
I think
Yeah.
it's very early.
I do
Because
too.
usually it's been the 5th and the 6th, I believe.
Right, it's
or-
usually around
Yeah.
that first full week.
It's not too much of a difference.
Or that is a full
Do
week
do we
this
need to
time.
submit a calendar with our application? Or are they two potentially separate steps? You know what I mean?
What?
Like, do we have to decide
on
on the
the app?
calendar ahead
Yes.
of application? We
Yep.
do.
You have to submit the calendars with the app.
For all 3 years,
So
or?
it says,
Oh,
I
wow.
called another district today that has a flexible learning year,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't. They just submit the calendar for that upcoming year, the actual calendar.
Right.
But then they also submit the start dates and end dates, or the start dates for that next 2 years.
That makes more sense
You'd
as
think the
opposed
start
to
and end
creating
dates would be what's.
a calendar for 3 years. That's awfully hard.
Well, I started it. You have to do 6, well, I was doing 6 of them because I was creating.
Looking at all the
Right,
options.
right.
But the other thing that you could do is, you know, you come to school December 21st and 22nd. So that's 2 days before Christmas break. And you could eliminate the 21st and 22nd as well, and then add 2 days on the backside
Oh,
in
jeez.
June.
That'd be a really long Christmas break.
Yeah.
Gal, I would
Well,
go to
this is
Florida
all
for those 2
dependent.
weeks then.
Lauren's already planning.
You can't think about yourself, you have to think about what the.
Lauren meant to
people
say,
want.
I think a lot of people would go.
I couldn't go to Florida, my mom will be in Chicago. It
So,
wouldn't make any
I am
sense.
hearing that you're thinking that the spring break, week-long spring break is the best option for the reasons discussed. That, you know, eventually, so next year, or the year after, I think Labor Day is on the 7th? What is it this year? Next year?
It's on the 7th, so
Okay,
next
well,
year be
must
on the
be
6th.
Yeah.
So it's a similar situation. We very easily could have a day in June, or it could end in May. I haven't finished that one. I just,
Right.
so I can't
Yeah.
tell you for sure.
Do you think parent perception would be better if they had a 2-year notice that we weren't gonna have a spring break? Do you think that maybe people don't feel like, are people already planning their senior trips for their senior kids to go on spring break, and maybe that's why there's less of a perception of, like, not having a spring break? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But that, I mean, you're gonna vote on this, so, and that just will provide the direction. Then I'm meeting with the calendar committee next week. Then we'll take that calendar, and what I'll do is I'll probably create the next 2 years. I'll just probably create a calendar with that option, with the week-long spring break, just keep it instated. Keep the spring break in place, and I'll just create those 2 years, and I'll work through that with the calendar committee. You could potentially approve a revised calendar for next year, and then 2 more years, and then people would know 3 years.
I think that'd be great.
That would be good.
I think that would be really good.
So action for day, you want,
Just tell me whether, you have 2 things. One, whether we're moving forward with a
With a
flexible
flexible.
learning year. So I think, obviously, the survey data supports that.
and that's a motion?
Well, it's all one motion. Move forward the flexible learning year, and then tell me whether you want to have a week-long spring break or not. All as
So-
part of that same motion.
So you want, I'll make a motion to move forward with the flexible learning year application and to include a week-long spring break in our calendar. That's what
Perfect.
you're looking for?
Yes.
Motion for that.
I'll second.
We have a
Is
motion.
Rob still here?
Of course.
Okay.
Might have fallen asleep on us.
You usually talk more.
I feel like you guys got this one covered.
So you want to work, Matt, on that, you want to work on that Thanksgiving one? You want that part of the motion, or you just want to
Nope.
figure out the dates at that
I
point?
mean, I'll use that as a suggestion,
Yeah.
and I'll work through that with the
See how that
calendar
looks.
committee.
Okay.
Mhm.
I like that suggestion, though,
do
because I
too.
think to get out June 2nd is
Fine.
Early.
plenty early.
You know,
Sandy?
I just have a couple of things. One, I was just wondering, since we have a student representative, I just wondered if you wanted to speak anything to Olivia, to the spring break question in terms of students?
Well,
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah,
If you don't, I
um,
just,
I think I'm really fine either way. I think the original one, I mean, I think it's fine from what I'm hearing. It just doesn't seem like there's that much of a change. And it seems like the other one, with no spring break, affects more of like the teachers, I think, than it does the students. I don't know.
do you think students want a spring break or not, I guess is.
I mean, I'm sure the majority of the students are like, yeah, we want more spring break,
Yeah.
but it's not too much of a difference. It's just like one lesser.
Yeah. And then my other thing is that I cannot attend the calendar committee meeting because of when it was scheduled, so, is there an alternate?
When is it?
It's the 18th at 3:15. So a week from tomorrow at 3:15. I was actually hoping you would say. You could.
Lauren is the alternate.
I am.
Yes.
Is that a work
Okay.
from home day?
It's a Tuesday. Tuesdays are hard work from home days, but hang on a minute. Let me just check my calendar.
We can do this after
Yeah.
the meeting.
Yeah,
This
but
is
I just
not
wanted to
something
make
do.
sure that people knew that I couldn't be there to represent, so.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to get input from Olivia. How do you think the students feel about going to school that last week of August? Do you think that families going to camp, on vacation, one last hurrah, or the state fair, do you think those are big impacts that affect the students?
If we start the 31st, correct?
Yep.
And then, I don't think it will affect too much, at least not me. I don't know. Do people normally take, like, last minute vacations? I guess that would more be of a, having to know what the majority of people do. But I don't think it will have too much of an effect. I think if you put in the mindset, like, hey, it's going to be June 1st that we're getting at, or June 2nd, I think kids will be like, oh, okay. And I don't think there's too much of a shift in the spring break that students will really notice it, because it seems it's just a whole week. Yes?
Well, that's with the spring break. It's the other one.
Oh,
that
okay.
would
I
be
was looking at the other
different.
one.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, and actually, the band will be down at the fair one whole day, so that'll take 100 kids out of the district.
Yeah.
True.
They usually do it, though, I think, the week before. Let me check. I think this year it was the first week of the fair? Or no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. You're
No,
right.
it would be,
The
it
full
would be
week.
during.
You're right.
It would be during this, yeah. Okay,
Well,
we have a
maybe they do it
motion
on a different day.
and a
the
second.
first one.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, good discussion.
Should be 9,
Pardon?
9, I believe.
On to board and administrative
Oh, yeah.
reports.
That's right, 3 numbered.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Yep. Sure. Mr. Purple, would you like to go first? Sure. So we don't have to keep you here any longer then.
You're welcome.
Shoes. With the Achilles injury, I gotta wear these around. And the room turns sideways and everyone falls out the window and jokes on you. So So I got a couple items on my report that I think may trigger some questions, so I wanted to be here to answer them. We'll start kind of on that second page first, maybe some of the things that probably won't have a question. The State High School League, I was at the board meeting last week. Yeah, it was last week. We're talking about something else, but they did approve a $40 increase per activity, so it was at 100, it'll be 140. So across our potentially 19, depending on what we do with my team here, activities, that'll be $140 each. Plus, they approved a $1 per MSHSL enrollment number fee. So our number is 570, so we will be an additional 570. This is all put in place to get the league about $700,000 and keep things running as planned.
Do you know about how much that's gonna cost the district?
I should have been sitting over there doing that now. Yeah, I don't.
Is it in your budget?
What's that?
Is it in your budget?
It will, yeah.
It
that's
will
one
be.
thing. It'll be 40 it'll be an increase of 40 times 19 plus 570.
So about 1,400.
Yeah, so, not a
Did I do that wrong?
astronomical number,
About
but
1,400.
if you
That's
get
right.
across the 300 plus
1,200, 1,300.
15.
schools in the league, that's a good chunk of money
Oh,
for
yeah,
the league
I
to
did
keep
it.
operating, so. It's unfortunate we have to go that way, but it will keep those opportunities for kids through league activities. Athena Award, when I first got here, we have Athlete of the Year. We weren't part of the Athena chapter. There's two, there's Minneapolis and St. Paul. It recognizes the best senior female athlete in those schools. We were put on the wait list, and I didn't see much hope there, so I kept bugging them, and finally I sent a note here in January, I think it was, just saying, can you send me the bylaws? Can I look at opening a Southern Minnesota chapter, something like that? And out of the blue, they said somebody dropped out, so we're in. So we will, at the next board meeting, we will know who our next Athena, our inaugural Athena Award winner will be. So that'll be pretty exciting. And then we had National Signing Day last week, which was a great experience. We do it a little differently. Some schools only do D1, some schools only represent students who are getting money for college. Our criteria is if you are committing to play athletics collegially, we want to recognize you at our signing day. So we had a school record 13 at the winter signing day, which was pretty awesome, fun experience for everyone. There are all the names there. As I mentioned, I was at the board meeting last week. I was speaking on behalf of a 3-class tennis system, which unfortunately failed. We will still be stuck with Minnetonka and Orono when we wake up August 17th and start the tennis season. So it's something I see changing. I think the biggest, what I got was, unfortunately, there wasn't a motion, so there wasn't any discussion, but what I kind of got out of the board was magic numbers. You have to have 192 schools participating in tennis. Waconia is adding a girls' tennis program this fall. That's 192. But there's also schools of about 80 kids that may not have one. Then if they drop down, we're back below that number. So they want to kind of get it up to 195, 196, kind of in that area before we approve a 3-class tennis system. So hopefully there's a couple more schools add and we can go back to the drawing board for next year. So the big things that I'm here for is some potential co-ops we're looking at, expanding the Scott West brand. This week is State Nordic Ski, which actually got moved from Thursday to Friday because of weather, which we will probably not be able to end this Thursday if it's going to be as cold here as it is up in Bulavik. But this week, Nordic Ski Club wraps up. That's been a really good experience from what I've been told from the coach. A couple of times when I popped out to practice here, it was great to see the kids learning. They're down at the Nye Nature Center now, which is a little more challenging course. This Thursday, we have the Minnesota River Conference ADs meeting. I'll be meeting with John Bergs from Belle Plaine to discuss how that's going to look, finances, how the Nordic Ski program is going to run, where we practice. Students will be responsible for park trail passes. We'll probably need to have some practices where we go off-site to different places. And just going through this whole process, it makes the most sense to probably not buy grooming equipment this first year and just rent out and practice at other sites. So that is something that hopefully at the March meeting we will put together a plan and we can propose a Scott West Nordic Ski Co-op to go varsity MSHSL next year. Any questions on Nordic Ski?
That's exciting. I'm excited about that
Yes.
one.
Yeah, I think we also have some kids that have told me that had this been competitive this year, they would have joined, they didn't want to join the club, kind of wanted that competitive piece. So that's good to hear. Next, just touch on it real briefly, because Steven's not here. We were looking at adding bass fishing. Scott West Bass Fishing, which is more of a summer activity than anything. Really hands-off. It's basically 2 students in a boat and an adult boat driver. This would be run through Community Ed, meeting next Sunday, or this Sunday, boy. Already to have a kind of informational meeting to see what the interest is. I think our biggest hangup is not going to be student interest, it's finding adult captains.
And boats.
And boats,
I've
yeah.
already heard that.
Yep. Yep,
Yeah.
so, that's gonna be kind of on our kids to recruit those boat drivers, but I think maybe we could get a tax write-off. There's different things you can kind of pitch to those adults to get them out there driving. Some fun things, and the real cool thing about it this year is why we're really pushing it this year, is the national tournament is on the St. Croix, right on the border here. Sometimes it's in Oklahoma, Tennessee, but it's right here in town, so kind of a cool deal. Big one is Scott West Soccer. We have a soccer program already established, I think 4 years in, 5 years we count the club year. And we have some discrepancies on talent levels at certain levels. We had low numbers with our girls. Ideally, we'd love to have a varsity JV or B squad, C squad, and then a middle school program. Last year on our girls team, we had 7th and 8th graders, sometimes first-time soccer players playing at the JV level, going to New Prague, other sites against girls who played their whole life. It's a bad experience for them. So the hope is not to get an Alex Morgan or Carly Lloyd or a superstar from Belle Plaine, is just to drive up our numbers at first year. And with the River Valley United Youth Association, which is about a year in, this should only help that youth association grow, because now those Belle Plaine kids and those Jordan kids can combine, and Belle Plaine kids know that they have an end game in joining the soccer program. So again, that'll be something discussed next Thursday. The nice thing about this, it'll cut our soccer budgets in half, because we would ask for a 50-50 split for Belle Plaine. And this would be something that obviously we need additional coaching, so there'd be a few more expenses, but for the most part, shouldn't cost us a whole lot more, maybe a little more in transportation, but again, we would ask them to probably transport when we're going north, we would drive going south, just so it's not less stress. This is something I've talked with some of our soccer girls and boys, with our coaches. Most seem very supportive, a little confused why, but also when explained to them that this is more just to get our numbers up. Another big thing was at the Wright County Conference ADs meeting last week, Glencoe and Hutchinson are co-op. Those are teams, both boys and girls lost to last, actually girls beat Glencoe, but both lost to Hutch. 2 years ago in the playoffs, Glencoe knocked us out. So by them combining schools that have similar numbers to us, they're doing it, I kind of asked both ADs, they're kind of doing the same reason why we would, to bolster those numbers, having the boys and girls playing at the right levels. So at that meeting, I figured what better time than now to ask for the approval of a Scott West Soccer Co-op. I threw it out there. I wasn't planning on doing this maybe this first year as we joined the Wright County, but it was approved by the Wright County ADs. So if we are going to move that route, we have a preemptive approval from the Wright County. Any questions on soccer and what that might look like?
What would be the advantage of going Scott West just versus having Jordan and allowing them in, kind of like we did for
That's something
some of our sports?
that might be a suggestion from you folks or from the superintendent, that we say, you know what, we're on it. We're not buying new uniforms. So we are going to be wearing Jordan, they call them kits, Jordan kits, for this first year anyway, for sure. Kind of setting up our practice schedule on campus here, kind of similar to Scott West Wrestling. 100% of our practices are here on site. I don't even know if Belle Plaine owns a soccer goal, so.
Right.
So one of the things that I was thinking about too is just with the facilities, you know, I mean, Belle Plaine does not have the turf fields, they don't have the lines, they would have to paint those lines specifically on their only, to my knowledge, competition field.
We would expect to play varsity in the stadium, not
Right.
the side field. Yeah.
So, you know, and just thinking about, and, you know, several of you brought this up, thinking about us and how we co-op with some other schools. For example, we have a student participating in gymnastics with Prior Lake. Well, they didn't change their name, you know, they've just accepted them in. And I think, just thinking most cooperatives around the state, that's pretty typical, right? They just the larger school or the host school accepts them in. Now, Scott West is kind of a unique situation. Both Jordan and Belle Plaine had their own wrestling programs at one point in time, and they built together and formed that new Scott West brand. So it's something that certainly is something to consider.
Yeah, I would take any recommendations from board administration on that as we head through this process. It's probably better to let Belle Plaine know sooner than later. Not that it should be a deal breaker.
Yeah.
We do hold all the cards in this situation because we have an established soccer program that we would be inviting them into. We would be hosting, we have the coaches and equipment, the schedule.
So just, if we could just really quickly provide some input, and I can take the notes for Joe here, that he and I can work together on for our upcoming work session here this month. Anything that you would like to see in terms of data, in terms of,
I'd like to know what numbers or interests, whatever,
That's what
because
I'm saying.
if there's, say they got 5 kids, we got the Jordan uniforms, that's a no-brainer. They got 25 and we got 25.
That's a big difference.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's hard to know those concrete numbers until you put pen to paper, but I've been told in Belle Plaine that upwards of 20, that's both boys and girls, so at least 10 per gender.
I'd be interested in all of the history we have on the Jordan soccer, when we started, what our numbers were, if we're consistently seeing growth year over year over year. Because I know the boys program this past year had huge numbers. I mean, they could have run a middle school schedule with just their C squad, because their numbers were so big.
and
for C
we have
squad.
that data in our, state of the district data
Okay.
book, so we can just pull that over into a specific work session document.
Our boys do have better numbers than girls. Our boys also did finish 0-15, ranked 131st out of 136 schools in single A. Not that adding a couple of Belle Plaine kids is gonna join that. Again, it's the depth, adding the kids at the right levels. Even at the boys side, with those good numbers, we still have a lot of middle schoolers playing up. Would love to develop them at a middle school level, so, that's where that would help on the boys side, yeah.
And then I would like more information on the rebranding, or what their perception is as leaving it as Jordan versus rebranding it as Scott West. And of course, the Belle Plaine numbers as to how many students they're bringing.
Yeah, and I'll have that meeting on Thursday. Again, until we open registration, they
Yeah.
probably don't have strong numbers, but I would hope they could get a good estimate. They could get a survey out.
Do a
and
survey.
see.
Do you know what the River Valley United Soccer Program plays right now in Belle Plaine? I know they offer it to Belle Plaine, but do they,
My understanding is they have 1 kid. That's what I was told.
okay.
I mean, that's we
I
have,
mean,
I don't know what age level that's at.
I mean, you talk about gymnastics,
I
I think
think
there were
she's
some other
in high
co-ops
school.
with swimming. We have a swimming
Yeah,
co-op
with
we used
Prior
to,
Lake,
I mean,
and then again, over there with that, we send one student to gymnastics. That's a fair share
Yeah.
split, so we pay one, let's say there's 35 girls, but we pay 1/35 of the
Yeah.
Prior Lake gymnastics budget.
but I mean, I'm trying to like put myself in like, we weren't presumptuous that like it was gonna become like not the Lakers or whatever, right? I mean,
Right.
I'm trying, and soccer could be different clearly, because I think it's probably more popular sport with bigger numbers than some of the other ones, but.
Yeah, I like the idea of keeping it Jordan, especially if we're looking at probably doing a uniform freeze for next year. We wouldn't put any money into new uniforms, and, for one school to buy boys and girls varsity,
That'd be a lot.
JVs,
Yeah.
C-SWAT,
Yeah.
potential middle school uniforms, that's not realistic to ask.
Well, I mean, and then maybe the fair share thing makes
Well, that
sense
might be, we
on their
say,
end.
it's gonna be Jordan soccer, and, you pay the fair share. So they have 30% of the kids in the program, they pay 30% instead of the 50%.
Right. And then if the numbers over the years change, you could reevaluate, or they decide they want their own program. I mean, the Scott West thing seems to make sense for these,
Smaller.
these smaller
The
programs.
new ones that
But
are
at the same time,
established.
I'm cognizant of the fact that like, the wrestling situation is unique. It has a track record of success. It's actually a competitive brand that's known,
Right.
throughout the wrestling community. Like, aside from that, we already have 2 mascots, right? So I mean, if we end up with 4 co-op sports, like, we're gonna have 3 mascots across a lot of activities.
Connie?
But my son ran track for Scott West, and at that time, we were struggling, And by bringing those two groups together, they built some really good athletes, and they built really good friendships and stuff. So rather than letting anything fall apart, giving kids opportunities, I think kids would, they'll make it work.
I don't think, I'm not opposed to the co-op between Belle Plaine and Jordan. I don't think I'm opposed to that. I just think that we've established soccer for Jordan. We've established the program. We've already done that. And then for us to go and switch it to Scott West. I agree 100%. Because we try to find co-ops for hockey. We try to find co-ops for lacrosse. We try to find these things, and we kind of get shut doors because the opportunities aren't there. So I don't want to shut a door to anybody who wants to play soccer. I want them to play. My concern is how that we're proposing to rebrand it to Scott West.
Yeah.
I think we should do
This
this.
co-op is supposed to be hugely celebratory for development. This is just a real good.
Hey, Joe, question. Remind me again, for the wrestling program, are they going to be a part of the Wright County? What's kind of the status of that? Because I guess where I'm going with that, or the question that I have is not necessarily soccer specific, but if we see an opportunity to grow Scott West, what does that opportunity look like versus other options in terms of being able to get kids to participate, per what Connie was saying, but potentially using it under our Jordan brand?
Yeah, it's, the Wright County Conference only accepted Jordan into the conference with the understanding, the one stipulation was our wrestling program does not come with. So, part of me thought if we can establish a Scott West brand with the Wright County, maybe at some point the wrestling program gets in, but maybe not. So it's one of those things where, I don't have a lot of emotion. I probably would prefer everything to say Jordan on it. I don't think that would be a deal breaker for Belle Plaine, but we've never had that discussion. I think we're offering an opportunity that they don't have right now, that I think we kind of hold the cards where we could make that offer. And Rob, I'm sorry, I don't know if that answered your question.
No, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, so, and that's another thing to look at too, as you mentioned, with joining the Wright County Conference, people are gonna see Scott West on their schedule, and they're gonna say, who the heck is that soccer team?
Right,
So,
right.
you know, at least for this first year or two, it should be probably Jordan.
See what the numbers are.
We're in the conference with them.
Well, I'm going to assume that we're going to have to buy additional uniforms anyway, because if we're adding kids, we're going to have to buy more uniforms.
Right, yeah, we have enough for 3 levels right now, but if we can get to enough where we can add a middle school program, we would need to buy some, you know, they don't need to be Nike brand, they can be
Right. But
reversible mesh.
I guess my point is that then we really are kind of at that point almost committing to one or the other. Like if we decide to go Scott West, then we pretty much should be buying the uniforms right away. I know we can't because of the uniform freeze. So, but if we're gonna buy the uniforms and only use them for a year, that seems not good, not very efficient.
We're good to go at the high school level. This would only be if we're able to add middle school, and maybe a middle school, they have their own alternate schedule. Maybe we buy Scott West middle school uniforms to start.
I see what you're saying.
Because if we were to drop Belle Plaine, we would go back to the point where we only have 2 to 3 levels. Where those
Right.
switchers wouldn't be used.
How long is the commitment on a co-op? Is there any commitment of time length?
Good question.
Very good question.
I think it's every 2 years. Well, I think there's like a dissolution. I think, like, since I've been here, we haven't had to refile any paperwork with
Right.
our wrestling co-op. So I think that's a good question.
I mean, my thought was exactly what Ryan and kind of Lauren were talking about. Let's start it with Jordan right now. We already have the uniforms, we have the equipment. Invite them to come play with the understanding that in 3 years or 4 years, we'll relook at the status of the co-op. And if they're putting in 30% of the kids or something like that, it probably makes sense, you know? But if all of a sudden we get registration and we have 1 girl and 15 boys, like we just changed the girls for 1
Yes.
girl, you know? So let's see, I would say registration, and you're not gonna know until August 13th what registration looks like either. I mean, you just
For
won't.
a year or two, say that we're gonna be Jordan, and then kind of reevaluate those.
I would just
numbers.
have that commitment
Maybe
with
set
them.
a number, if you get up to 40% of the registered participants, then we'll
Right.
go with Scott
Yeah, then
West.
we'll start
And
doing.
that can be changed at any time.
And I think that makes sense because we're potentially, with our budget reductions, freezing the uniform cycle. So that kicks the can down the road 1
Right,
year.
it does.
I don't know what soccer re-up.
They got theirs last year.
Okay, so they're probably multiple years out.
They're multiple
Yeah.
anyways.
You just say, we're staying Jordan brand until that point in time, and then you'll reevaluate
Yeah.
the
That's-
co-op
I
at
like
that
that.
point in time.
That's
I
what
like
I would
that.
say.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I will definitely take that advice and that plan into our meeting on Thursday and say that's kind of what our expectations are for this.
That sounds good.
And then the Bass one would be,
That would be, yeah, that would be Scott West, and that's, you know, it's so, that's not even in my department, that's a community ed thing. But we like the idea of combining them. Really, you don't have to be, really, it's more of an individual or dual activity anyway, so we could separate at any time, and there's no, it's not run by the league, so we would make that decision anytime.
Great.
Thank you,
Good.
Joe.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Joe.
you.
Hey, do you want this? I've got like 4 of these. Do you
I
want
have
half?
8 of
Oh.
those.
Add this to your
Deb,
library.
Deb,
You-
I would like
I
one.
do, I could now probably
You
do one
want,
every
somebody
class.
else like one? If I want to read it at some point, I don't need to.
I
Here.
got that one.
You need it back?
Pass it back to Joe then. when
I
you're done.
will.
He can give it to his coaches.
you.
Thank you. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Okay, superintendent's report.
Okay. So really briefly, our enrollment was in February, as of February 3rd, sitting at 1,884 students. And again, it's still tracking above what we registered or we had in our district last year at the end of the school year. But 28 students less than what we built our budget projections on, and you heard that already from Amy tonight. You know, I guess what's encouraging to me, if there is a bright spot, is our elementary and pre-K numbers are higher than what we predicted. So,
That's good.
our middle school is just lower, and we know why. We just can't count as many St. John students because there's
Not as many.
less students. So that model that's used is sort of skewed because there's half the number of students at St. John's than there was 7 years ago.
What does that mean? Does that mean there's more starting out here?
Or elsewhere.
Elsewhere.
Yeah.
Potentially here. We're seeing kids come earlier too. You know, traditionally in the past, it's been 7th grade where we've had an influx, and now, you know, we're getting all over the place. 4th grade, 3rd grade, 5th grade. 5th grade's really popular because you have
The
new buildings.
transition.
Natural
Yep.
break.
Yep.
Mhm.
So, there's that. Teachers on call, substitute needs there. We recently went to a full-time Jordan sub. We aren't paying any more in terms of the daily rate of pay, so it's the same daily rate of pay from teachers on call. The only agreement that I agreed to was that if we had a snow day, that we would pay them on that snow day. Well, it's not gonna snow this year on a weekday, so we're good.
Way to jinx us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
Budgeting process and timeline is the third item on my update. And I felt the January 29th community engagement session was very good. We had roughly 50 attendees, 49 to be exact, if they all signed in. I'd like to thank them publicly for attending, listening to the budget and finance presentation, and for providing input. That input was listed on our board packet under Amy's report tonight under the finance section. We are now taking that information and trying to put numbers to it, some financials to those suggestions. And then that's what we will bring forward to you as a board at our work session with some suggestions on how we can reduce our budget. So I did make a couple of changes to the 2021 budget timeline document. Like I said, we're processing the suggestions now, putting numbers to that. We will present them at our our February work session. And I would then call the February 24th work session an opportunity for public hearing. So that would be our public hearing date. And obviously at a work session, we typically don't hear from the public because while it's an open meeting, there isn't public comment. If we do have a public hearing that evening, I would suggest that we do provide for opportunity for public comment if there is any. And then we also added in the staff budgeting time. So you need to know as a board that, you probably already know because you've probably been told by certain staff members or some staff members. We've done 4 staff budget presentations. We've done 2 for non-certified staff. We've done the high school, we've done the middle school. Tomorrow we're doing ELS, early learning, and then Wednesday we're doing the elementary school. So we'll have presented 5 times, 6 times across the district, and anybody that everybody was invited to attend those sessions from our staff. Let's see. Just pull that up really quick here. So here are the staff meetings listed, at the time. And this is where we'll take action right here. So we're preparing our suggestions, our LTFM, our capital projects, Safe Schools budget right now. And that will all be presented at our work session. And then at the March meeting, that's when you'll take action on any employee actions that we need to take. And then we will provide notice to those employees affected on March 17th. And the rest of the budget timeline is pretty typical for any type of budgeting year. Any questions on any of the report items?
Any questions? No? Okay, is that it for your report?
Yep.
Okay, principal's report? I just want to highlight that the Summit program kids earned 184 college credits. So 29
Wow.
kids. I think that
That's great.
that ought to be in the paper.
Yeah, I agree.
That is an amazing program, and kudos to those kids, and what a great opportunity for them.
By just that one class.
Mhm.
Just that one class, 184 credits.
And again, I've said this before at this table, having a daughter go through that program, she wouldn't say this out loud, but I saw the growth in her, just as a person, and just the opportunity. You've got public speaking, you're presenting to a variety of audiences. You're presenting on your capstone day, but you're also presenting a lesson, you're teaching kids. You're doing research writing work, you're doing reflection work. It's just such a all-encompassing program. To me, this really is a shining star of our district.
It is.
And it's not only the state that's taking notice, the country knows about our intro to ed program. So
Wow.
it is one of the premier education prep programs in high school.
When I was in DC last week, we met with all of our congressmen, and I touted this program, and every one of them was like blown away by it.
So it's good stuff, and obviously we want to grow all of our Summit programs to be the same. I think our medical careers is very good. We wish we had the numbers with our business, marketing, and economics. So hopefully we can rebuild that program or redefine what that looks like. And then with our construction trades, I think that's just a really nice addition. And if the coaching thing works out, I think that could be another nice piece.
Yeah.
In the future, will you be adding more to the Summit Academy? Just to give more
We'd like to.
options?
I mean, it's really kind of an economy of scale
Yeah.
type of concept. I mean, it takes a lot of money to run them, especially when we're committing 2 instructors. So that's something that we have to evaluate whether we can continue to do that. But, as Deb just mentioned, the dividends are, it's there. The kids benefit from it, families benefit from it, and I believe it's the right thing to do.
Well, in college, often education majors don't get to even step foot inside of a classroom until junior, maybe even
Yeah.
senior
Right,
year.
right.
And these kids have already done it
Yeah.
in high school.
Yeah, so Olivia, I mean, you'll have that opportunity starting next year, even if you're not going into education. It's a slam dunk.
And that applies to healthcare too, right? I mean, my wife wasn't in a clinical until she was in her back half of her
Exactly.
post-secondary. So.
And I think it gives our teachers opportunities, like Mr. Urbanik, to create a curriculum and whatever. That's his passion, and he'll do a good job with it. So I think our staff, it gives them opportunities to grow and find things that they'd like to teach. So I think it's a win-win all the way around.
And just a reminder, Jordan Dollars for Scholars will be making phone calls on February 22nd and 23rd, so answer your phones. Okay, middle school principals report. Anybody have any questions or comments on that? Anything you want highlighted? Elementary school principals report.
Actually, can I ask a question on the middle school?
Sure.
Because I was looking down at the bottom towards the community connections section, and I was getting a little confused, so maybe it was just me. But we have, conferences all on that day, and all of these things are going on during conferences. So you have the open house conference from 3:30 to 7:20, and then we're also doing parent registration overview on that same day.
Yes.
And
We're trying to,
Get 'em all there.
there's a reason why we're doing it, and it's trying to improve our numbers at conferences, because they haven't historically been very good at the middle and high school level. So we're trying to, we did it this fall too, with different presentations that occurred throughout the evening. So we're
I
just
know.
trying to get people in the door.
So, and that was my thought behind this, because I know I went to the high school went to both conferences, and I didn't have an opportunity to get to the presentations because I was waiting in line to meet with the teachers. So I was kind of like, okay, what's more important? And I think at the high school, I wanted to do the college readiness presentation that they had. I went into that 20 minutes late.
Yeah.
And for Ben's, I had 2 that I wanted to attend that I wasn't able to attend because I wanted to meet with the teachers. So I guess that's what I was just trying to figure out.
Yeah, we're just trying to create a balance because, it wasn't working before either. We actually have seen an increase in attendance at conferences since we've tried to spice it up a little bit. And I think, and I know not everybody is the same way, but for me, I'm not necessarily gonna go see the teachers where my child is performing well in. I can see the grade online. I don't necessarily need to do that, so I'm going to pick and choose if there's a particular area that I want to go. And that's typically what we see from a lot of parents.
So like
If
the
there's
baby.
another suggestion, I mean, the problem is
I'm not trying to be critical, I'm just asking the question.
But we've held different events on different nights, and nobody comes to that.
Right.
So
Right.
it's just trying to figure out what's the right balance.
So the vaping presentation from 5:30 to 7, is that an hour and a half presentation, or is that like a cycle of presentations?
That's a good question.
I don't know the answer. I can text Ben and find out here.
And the curriculum committee meeting is on there just because if anybody wants to stop by and join the committee, they can. So, because that's a board committee that obviously
Yep.
had that tonight, so. And, a lot of parents aren't going to do that, but it's
If you're out
there
to
in
vote.
case.
Mm-hmm.
We'd love
No,
to
and I
have new
know,
people.
we would love to have new people there.
Well, I'm really glad to see the vaping presentation because that is a national
I agree.
crisis right
I think
now.
that's a very important presentation that,
It is.
that people should be attending, and I'm just trying to figure out, is it
I don't think it's an hour and a half. I think it's sort of ongoing. And what it's gonna be, it's gonna have some sample pipes and whatever you call it. Paraphernalia. Because they come in different forms, so it's just sort of being aware of what things look like and that type of thing.
So kind of like the presentation in New Craig last year on drugs? I'm sorry, that must have been guessing. Yeah, where they had like a model room and there was,
Yep.
yeah, okay.
So I sent a message to Ben, and hopefully he'll get back to me here before the month's
Hey, Matt,
Yep.
is there an opportunity to video and post that as well?
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Because then more people could access it.
Just have to find somebody to do that.
Video it.
If it's an actual presentation.
Yeah.
That, and if they have
Oh,
permission
right,
to,
right.
to do that, that would be a great idea.
But the registration parent overview, that might be a good thing to
Oh, yeah.
video.
Mhm.
I know there's 2 opportunities, but it's still, for people who might not be able to come that night, it might be a good idea to.
Yeah. And that makes it less crowded and overwhelmed as well, because there's a lot going on.
There is. Is
Okay.
Rydberg teaching a media class this semester? I just wondered if that
Oh,
would be
that was some,
I'm afraid to
somebody
ask
from
this
there.
question, but is the vaping
Good
presentation
question.
by somebody outside the district? And is the vaping presentation from somebody outside the district or inside the district?
This is the first time I heard of it.
I believe law enforcement's involved at some level. I think it's
Okay.
Scott County, but I'm not 100%
like,
sure.
Sheriff Hennon, maybe? He was in New Prague.
okay, good questions. Okay. Elementary school principals report. Lots of good things going on there. Nothing? Anybody has a question about Erin's report?
That was a long report.
Yeah.
It was a good report,
Oh, it
though.
was,
She does a
very.
nice
Yeah.
job. Well, they all do a nice job.
Yes. But I was like, wow, there's a lot going on.
And when we give our board reports, the people that were at that meeting could talk about the Schoology and Google thing that we discussed, so. That was a long report. Okay. And we have the activity director's report already, community ed and rec director's report. Anything on that? I know that Stephen presented, the community ed report to the city last month,
Yep.
a couple weeks ago, and I guess it went
Well
very
received.
well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do we see, does he have a lot of new things going in for the spring catalog, or is it a lot of repeat from last year?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure what additional pieces. I know he's always working on trying to get some additional components in place, but.
He has really
I don't
done a
know if
nice
he-
job with the senior population in Jordan, doing monthly senior coffee talks, and they have been getting incredible attendance.
That's awesome.
Last month, I
Sweet.
think we had like 30-some people, seniors
Wow.
from the community.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was kind of fun, because it was Tony Albright, Representative Albright's wife, and her work partner that did a whole piece on how to downsize, and I guess it was, I wasn't there, I was out of town. but
I could
guess it
use
was
that.
incredible.
Just
Yeah.
one thing that
So he's doing a nice job with that.
he added, it just hasn't been as popular as we thought it would be, is those online classes, those fitness classes. We have a subscription, and they take place in here, where you project on the screen, and so that's, I mean, it's available, but it hasn't necessarily been as popular as we had hoped.
Probably because a lot of people can do that at home.
Well, you can even bring the bikes in, for example.
Oh.
Bring bikes in, and you can simulate what Peloton does.
Oh.
You can have the instructor on the screen, and it's basically the same concept, so.
The Luau dance party sounds fun.
It does, I see that.
And they have preschool open house coming up, so that's good stuff. Nutritional Services Director's report.
And communications.
Did I miss, oh, I'm sorry, communications, I missed that one. That's Kat's report. Anything on her report anybody wants to comment on or see? She did a really nice job on the snow closures and, well, her and Matt together, but the announcements and handling all of that, I thought.
Yeah, I was asked that question, if I could just touch on that.
Yeah.
When we were dismissed at noon, I was asked by a parent last weekend, actually. And it's just a perfect example of our district is a nice size to be able to turn on a dime and be able to make some of those adjustments. Like, that's not possible in a larger district. You
Yep.
have to have your prescribed 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. And part of that is because we only have a single run, single bus run. If you double run your students, it's almost impossible to do what we did. So, just another good example of just nice, efficient sized district to be able to do things like that, and everybody executed that just flawlessly. Our staff, principals did an excellent job, our bus company did a fantastic job, so.
It was nice, the snow came just a
was
little
gonna
bit
say.
later than we thought it was going
Awesome.
to. It was
Predicted-
perfect.
Predicted it to a T.
call. It was a
Ryan and I
perfect
just
guess.
pulled in and it just, the snowflakes were just coming off the highway.
Just, I have answers
can
from
use that on
Ben
your suitcase.
too on that presentation.
Pardon me?
I have answers from Ben on that
Vaping.
presentation.
Oh, yes.
So I was way off. There's no law enforcement, but it is Hazelden Betty Ford presentation. And they have a 90-minute block that they need to have. So Rose Gulbranson, as part of her assignment, has been organizing with the PTO on that. And the PTO parents wanted resources, and that's sort of the, really kind of the impetus for this whole thing.
Is it for kids also?
He's gonna text again.
I would assume
Yeah.
it would not be able to be taped if it was from Hazelton.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not.
That's
I would
probably true.
assume not.
We might wanna market that a little bit differently then, I think, if we
Right.
can maybe market
Yeah.
it with a little bit more of a, hey, this is a epidemic, this is a
Yeah.
great presentation our district is offering, it's being presented by so-and-so, it's a 90-minute block, however, during,
And market it to high school
Yeah.
parents.
and
potentially.
actually
Well,
market.
we should also market it to neighboring districts, because we've been invited to New
New
Prague
Prague.
Yes,
now
we
for
have,
several
yeah.
things, so we should invite all the surrounding
Rockland, Craig.
Neighborhoods.
Mhm.
We'll make note of that.
Sure.
Thanks. Seriously, we should. Actually, New Prague has something tonight.
Yes, I know, I wanted to see it.
Yeah, me too.
From Nani, right?
It's Nami, yep.
Yeah, I wanted to go to that
So,
too.
New Prague has a group of guys that graduated a number of years ago, and they lost a friend to suicide. So, for whatever reason, I don't know the history behind it, but they call themselves the Duck Cup. And so annually, they do something to honor their friend, but to provide education to people that want to learn more about suicide prevention
How
and
incredibly awesome.
mental health. and
Phew!
things.
Bless
Bless
you.
you.
Excuse me.
Good tribute.
Yes, that is.
Okay, now on to nutritional.
We have milk?
We have milk. She's
Yay.
right. In my mind, I'm thinking, go to Rademacher's and buy a couple gallons of milk.
I think,
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
somebody else had that same idea too, but can you imagine all those little
Pouring
kids
all them-
pouring
Yeah,
the milk
no,
and
no.
walking?
I was
Cartons of
being
milk or
facetious.
glasses of milk?
She
It's got like a little
got it
pipeline.
covered.
Yeah, it was, I mean, and she, it wasn't with a lack of trying. She called everybody under the sun that,
Yeah.
to try to get, and, you know, there are other school districts, obviously, that have the same vendor, that were in the same boat, so,
Mhm. So it's good that it turned out as well as it did.
yep.
And I think if I remember right, she has a, school breakfast week coming up.
Yes,
So she'll
yeah.
be contacting us to see if anybody's interested in coming and serving. If you haven't done it, it's really fun.
It's fun.
It is fun. Okay, Special Services Director's report. Anything there? I need to highlight. APAC reports. Okay, nothing on that. Technology Director's report. We'll probably highlight that when we talk about, or the curriculum meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Facility, Tim's report, Facility Director's report.
The changeover from to LED lighting at the high school is about 70% complete, so, that's going well. They'll have to wait to do the parking lots you read until we have a
Spring
little
break.
bit longer break, but that'll really, the parking lots will provide us a really nice savings, so. The wall packs, so the mounted wall packs, I think are all done now, and then a lot of the inside. And I think this is really important, and we've been highlighting in our staff budget presentations, but we're spending money out of a reserved account, restricted, that you can only spend on building stuff, improvements and replacement and things like that. But the savings will be realized in an unassigned account. Because we pay our electric bills out of our unassigned account. Both general fund expenditures, one is restricted, the expense is coming out of restricted, but then the savings, which is also an expense, will be seen in the unassigned portion. So I think that's hard for some people to wrap their mind around, so I just wanted to highlight that a little bit more.
Okay, committee reports, board member and committee reports. Let's see, what should we start with here? Thank you. Budget and finance, I think we've covered that. Calendar committee,
Meeting next week.
Does
Can
anybody
anybody?
after?
I'll go to it.
Yep. You will?
Yeah,
Thank
I'll
you.
go.
City school committee meeting, that's in the works.
We've got one coming up.
Yeah, is that a couple weeks here?
Is it the 24th? Is that what it was? February?
Yes,
Yeah,
24th,
24th.
we have one. Communications committee. I don't think that we've had any meetings there. Community ed rec.
Our joint powers got bumped back. We are next Tuesday, Matt? I think it is. No, when's? When is ours? Do you remember?
I mean, look,
I think it's the 19th, but we'll have to look. Anyways, we didn't have one in January. We've got one coming up in February. The January one got bumped. There weren't enough people available.
Okay. Curriculum committee meeting was this afternoon prior to this meeting. Connie and I and Sandy were there. Yep.
Hey, can I ask a quick question related to community ed and joint powers?
Mm-hmm.
Can I get on whatever the distribution is for those? Because I feel like I missed a community ed meeting on Monday, only because I think I saw it on Facebook maybe?
That was a different meeting.
Okay,
That was I think that was like a recruitment type meeting.
Okay.
I don't think that was this exact committee.
okay.
Didn't see it.
I saw it on
Was that
Facebook.
the,
I
Barb
saw
Teevan.
that was
on-
the recruitment for community ed advisory.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
Isn't that the committee I
Yeah.
took from you? So
Yeah.
I took community ed advisory from Ryan.
Yeah, that was, I think it was last Monday, right?
Yeah.
There was a meeting a week ago
Yeah.
tonight, yeah.
Just have Stephen.
So can I get on his distribution now? And then I think, did I take joint powers too with you or no?
Yeah, you're on. I know
Okay.
it's got you on there, so.
Okay, so then also add me to any of the joint power stuff too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
I think I did.
Do you want me to talk about?
sure,
student
go
ed?
ahead.
Okay, so we met tonight. We spent quite a while talking about, currently we have Schoology as our learning management system, and we are looking at moving to Google Classroom. Google Classroom is free. Currently, we pay $11,000 for Schoology per year. There will be some cost in terms of changing over, mainly because there's a lot of teachers who have a lot of time invested in creating things in Schoology, so they will have to then recreate some of that and transfer that all over to Google Classroom. There is that May 1st day where we are hosting that kindergarten conference, where the 5th through 12th grade teachers who that will affect, because K through 4 really don't use Schoology at all, and 3rd and 4th grade are already currently using Google Classroom. So those 5th through 12th grade teachers then will have that 8-hour day to be able to transfer that over,
So
all that
what,
stuff.
what does it mean, what are they transferring over, like
So
lessons?
they've
Some of
created,
them have their
they've created
tests and
assessments and
curriculum.
quizzes and their syllabus and all of that kind of stuff that's already on Schoology. If you go and you look under like resources and things like that on Schoology, some teachers have like pages
Yeah.
and stuff that they have created, so.
And some don't.
And some don't. So, so that was also a discussion as to, some teachers have way more invested than others do in Schoology. But that will be a one-time cost to the district in terms of that amount of time. It's really more of a cost of time, which is a cost in terms of dollars as well. But But we won't have that cost going forward, and then we will not have the cost of Schoology once we move to Google Classroom. So, and it's being piloted. Grades 3 and 4 are using it at the elementary, and then there are some 5th and 6th grade teachers that are piloting it at the middle school, and there's been good feedback, is my understanding. It's a little different, but it will work, and it will also be more seamless because there's one step. There's an additional step when you have to, as a student, and Olivia, you may probably be able to speak to this, but I know my kids, when they're trying to submit something on Schoology that's from Google Docs, sometimes there's glitches.
Oh, yeah.
So here, there won't be that because it'll be seamless, it'll all be Google. So that will solve that problem. We also talked about the hardware, so all the Chromebooks. So most of them have been purchased 2017, 2018. So what Stephen is looking at doing is, like, we have the rugged devices, and currently there are 4 carts at the elementary school, and those are the newer models. And what they're planning on doing is to purchase 4 carts for the elementary to replace older devices, and to move some of the other ones to the 5 through 12 grade device pool, and then that next year, getting on a cycle where, because they say that the Chromebooks have about a 4-year lifespan, okay? So what they're thinking of doing is that in 5th grade and 9th grade, each student gets a new Chromebook, and then that kind of stays with them through that building. And then when they get to, like 5th graders get one, they are done at 8th grade. When they move to 9th grade, they get a new one. So, and then that stays with them. And then there's also the option, we talked a little bit about, and then at the end of like 8th grade or senior year, maybe students might be able to purchase those, because we will actually own those as opposed to leasing, which is what we currently do now. So, and you could buy them for, like, we won't even say what, but a very cheap price. So, because he wasn't sure. So that's pretty much what we spent the vast majority of our time talking on. Is there anything you guys want to cover regarding?
It was a good discussion, it was good.
It was.
If you do 2 grade levels, brand new though, on that cycle,
Mhm.
you're looking at $100,000.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
Every year.
yeah, every year, so it will be a constant purchase. So that's something that I think that people need to be aware of.
We talked about doing a tech levy.
Yep.
Or talked about putting it on as one of the questions, adding a question on our survey. How do you feel about technology growing?
Yep.
Because we want our kids to be graduating with the highest level of technology that they can have, so that they can go into the workforce or the college.
and we've
and be
talked about
ready.
this before, the problem is, curriculum is so expensive. Like, you buy one textbook series, if you were to buy all hardcover books, for example, I mean, it's, for a district our size, you're looking at $500,000 to do
Yep.
one subject area district-wide. So you have to try to balance the technology side, because we've gone Chromebook heavy and trying to deliver curriculum via some of the electronic methods. So typically, if we have to buy a new textbook, we'll buy a classroom set and a digital subscription, and then push it out that way, because you just can't do both.
Yep.
You just can't afford to do both unless you have a dedicated tech levy in place.
Right, which lots of school districts do, and we talked about that.
Yep.
And so, and that's something that our district has chosen not to do, but it is now affecting, that's part of, there's lots of things affecting our budget, but that definitely is an impact on our budget.
Yep, and right now, when we purchase technology, we go to a bank or a company that does specific, fronts us the money, and then we pay it back over a series of 3 years, is typically what we do.
Wow.
And then by the time you're done with that 3 years, you gotta buy it again.
Yep.
So.
Okay, thank you. Ed Foundation meeting, did you go to that, Rob?
No, Ryan did.
Rob and I were both there.
Oh, okay.
Yep, I was there too.
Lots of good conversation around marketing. They're currently looking for a chair for their marketing activities, and I believe additional board members for the overall board. But lots of good conversation on the grants, and there were some repeat grants of some things that were successful last year, and so it's exciting to see they're focusing on how they can, fundraise and continue to grow the foundation beyond the initial gift.
So do they have any ideas for a gala or any big fundraising push?
No, I mean,
Yeah.
they're really struggling with that, I think.
Okay.
How they go about fundraising, and I guess, you can go different ways with that, I guess, whether it's a gala or, I think they did some type of food sales at Hammerfest. In my mind, I'm seeing fundraising for a foundation being more giving and gifts than, fundraising, in the more traditional sense. But yeah, no, it was good. There's a lot of, a lot of ambition and positivity there. They just need to continue to find their identity and create one.
Yeah, I think that we've got a tremendous opportunity to potentially create an integrated story kind of between what we're doing kind of as a community, as a district, as a education foundation, and then as a booster club. And really kind of for the benefit of the community and the kids at large. And so kind of building off of kind of that sense of purpose that Ryan was talking about, I think that there's kind of this opportunity to create a little bit more kind of clear line of sight in terms of what are we trying to do in terms of trying to promote additional kind of education opportunities, different models, different ways to be able to provide opportunities for kids kind of in the classroom. How does that marry up with what the district is trying to do kind of with our charge? And then what does that look like in terms of the Booster Club and in terms of kind of extracurricular activities, and how do they all kind of fit together? And so I think that there's probably some opportunity to have a little bit more kind of brainstorming kind of around that, and to be able to create kind of more of that integrated story. I think that they were kind of open to that, but it was something that kind of came up because of Deb, kind of to your point, in terms of what are some of these opportunities for kind of additional fundraising, and more importantly, what are we trying to kind of fundraise about, and what's kind of our charge kind of in that process. So I think that could be kind of a really cool opportunity for this coming year.
Yeah, and I mean, they're definitely, it feels like they want to gain some confidence in their ability to replenish the funds before they go too far in distribution. And that there was a lot of concern about that, about maintaining Jiv's legacy, and so I think that's the next step.
I think Rob's right, and I think, just really quick, just listening to what Rob just had to say, and one of the things that I think we need to educate the community on is the difference between these different entities too. Because, for example, the touchscreen Hall of Fame kiosk at the high school, I've heard comments of, well, the district doesn't need money because look at, they can purchase things like that. That was a Booster Club purchase. We heard tonight as part of our board agenda, the golf team's going to Morton out to play at that particular golf course, completely funded by the Booster Club. The Booster Club is not a Jordan Public Schools entity, and I just don't think people see that separation. It's very similar to our youth associations. We often will get complaints or concerns about, for example, a youth program. Well, we don't run them. They're their own separate 501c3 separate entities. So I think there might be some opportunity this summer when we're doing some of our prep work for the next school year to create some professional videos that get those other organizations involved and kind of tell that story and really provide that clear direction of this is what the Booster Club does and this is how it helps benefit the students of Jordan Public Schools. This is what the Jordan Education Foundation does, and maybe even include some of the youth organizations too. And these, while they support and benefit kids that are within the Jordan Public Schools, and it's a feeder program, they aren't necessarily under the district's control.
Well, and the education foundation especially, because I think people have an understanding, a lot of people have an understanding what a booster club does, that's been around for a long time. There's a lot of discussion around, to your point, like, a foundation, it sounds like that's something that's controlled by the district, whereas, you know, they're doing really cool stuff with innovative ideas that the district is not in a position to fund, right? Try things that may fail in a classroom or may be a success. So they really need that marketing person to tell those stories. And it really needs to be case studies about, you know, these grants enabled this to happen in the classroom. Because, yeah, I mean, you really need to understand what you're giving to, and that it's not just that you're giving money to the school's general fund, right?
Great, thank you. Facilities committee, we didn't have anything there. Meet and confer.
I don't think there hasn't been one since the last meeting, I don't think.
We, not,
Probably.
there, yeah, the day of the
Oh,
first
was
day
that
of the
out?
leadership conference, I wasn't there, so I don't think we've reported on that yet, because we haven't had a regular board meeting.
I was there then. Do you remember Matt or Rob? That was a long time ago.
Was Rob there? Rob,
Yeah.
were you at meet and confer the day before a leadership conference?
I was. I don't recall anything too substantial kind of coming out of that. I think that to some degree, it was a great meeting. The one item that did come up, it was a little bit more kind of clarification from some members of staff regarding the thoughts around kind of a future survey that would be coming up. But we kind of addressed that based on kind of everything that we've kind of talked about kind of up to this point. But overall, from my perspective, it was a good meeting.
Great, good. Okay, negotiations, 284, our custodians and cooks have filed the intent to negotiate, so we're working on coming up with some dates to start negotiations with them, so that'll be in the works. Personnel committee has not had to meet. Policy, we've got a meeting coming up sometime.
2 weeks from today.
24.
Okay, safe and supportive schools, PBIS, I don't know, Lauren, have you had a meeting? No, have not. Scale.
We had a scale meeting at Playworks Link Event Center, and it was kind of their legislative update and what they're gonna present as legislators and have their,
Platform.
yeah, their platform for it. And one of the big ones is Matt's actually led that one, kind of as the districts, where the home districts are for the kids. And so that is part of the platform that they're pushing for this year, so, kind of a fun one that came out of Jordan anyway, so. They've done some good things, I mean, like, last year, or 2 years ago, or last year, I don't remember what it was, the carp one. That was a big
Spring
push
Lake,
for them to be able to,
Oh,
have the commercial fishermen come in insane without having to have the DNR issue like a special permit. That came out of scale, that was a big push from our scale unit, so that was kind of a cool thing that's already occurred, and then they're pushing for a couple more this year, so. And then we've got a meeting this Friday, 7:30.
A lot of
Playworks.
transportation, bonding stuff.
Yeah, quite a bit of
Transportation
that stuff. yeah.
improvement, infrastructure improvement.
This Friday?
What's that?
We have another scale meeting.
Yeah, the scale is Friday.
This Friday.
Yeah.
And I believe your presenter is gonna be from Midwakaton, because I was in a meeting with her on, what's today? What day of the week is it?
Monday.
Last Thursday or Friday. And if any of you, if you go out on, is that County Road 83, I think, and you see the big, the
Yeah.
beautiful building with the teepees? Honest to gosh, it is phenomenal. Go there and take your kids. We got the gal that gave us the tour, and we had the meeting with, she's the third in the link of the Midwakaton hierarchy or whatever. And she has they have a goal, they're investing, I believe it's $3 million over 3 years to promote Native American education into the public school system. So we had a meeting with Kirk Schneider, the executive director of MSBA, and myself. And she gave us a tour of this. They have a museum that's part of this. And they have, in the lower level, they have, what do you call it, when a room is controlled environment
Oh.
with artifacts of the Native American, their particular tribe going back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And it is architecturally, it is an unbelievable building. I'm sure you've seen it.
Wow.
Isn't it something?
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. So, they do, like I said, they do have an exhibit hall, and there's a small fee, but it would be well worth your time to go out there and take your kids. It's quite a place, so.
Do teachers do field trips out there?
Yep, they can do field trips.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
They went already, Jordan went, because Janae was with them, I don't remember if it was third or fourth grade, already did a field trip out there.
And the APAC committee is, that's one of the things they're going to do this year, is that all of the American Indian kids are going to go, or the ones that sign up are going to be going out there on a field trip, so.
Okay, Southwest Metro, let's see, we had our organizational meeting 2 weeks ago or whenever it was. My days are all run together. They gave a really neat report on, what's that place called, the horse place, Matt?
Oh, in Watertown.
Oh, the Freedom Farm.
Yeah.
Yeah, up by, north of Hollywood. They gave a presentation on that, and it's just phenomenal. It's, you know, special needs kids that go to school there full-time, and they work with horses. There's only a couple kids going there, but I would love to go on a tour there sometime, so. And then they also created a facilities task force that Matt will be serving on, along with Pat Devine and some other people, and I'm on it also. There's a lot in the works, there's a lot of
Some big decisions that.
big
need to be made.
decisions, yeah, yeah.
So some of the programming for Southwest Metro is in the Shakopee Town Square Mall. And have to decide whether or not to go all in there, or, you know, where the location is right now, Canterbury, is right next to Canterbury Park. It's the Valley Green Building. CAP agency is right there. It sounds like there's some opportunity. Some groups are moving out of there to expand there. The only wild card there is that the city of Shakopee is potentially looking to expand their River South entertainment district, and that could be purchased by the city of Shakopee, that property. So it's, you know, there's some things that need to be decided upon.
But there's a ton of issues with the town square
Yeah.
building, you know, with the population that they serve there. It's just.
Yep.
So anyway, that task force will be meeting. And then we did vote to bring on the Bloomington School District as an associate member of Southwest Metro. Just like last year, we voted to bring on Wasika, four of them, yeah, JWP,
Richland.
4 districts down there, so. Other than that, other than the committees, any personal things that any board members have? I attended the One Act Play, very good job. Very good job. Caduce to Speech, taking
Yes,
first.
they've taken first at both varsity tournaments and the junior high tournament that we participated in, and we have another one tomorrow in New Prague.
And I just want to extend my sympathy to Hope and Nikki on losing grandparent, and then Jen St. John losing her mom. And also keep Kenny Hench's Lida's husband, she's our elementary cook. Kenny was put in hospice, so.
Just a lot.
There is, yeah. So other than that, anybody else have anything? Okay, if not,
Move to adjourn?
We are adjourned.